When I refused to buy my brother a new truck, he filed a restraining order claiming I threatened to destroy his life. It went to court. I played back recordings of him bragging about taking me down for cash. The judge dismissed his case with prejudice and ordered him to pay every penny of my legal fees while I walked out smiling past him in the hallway. I never expected it would be my own brother trying to burn my life down over a damn truck. My name's Randy. I'm 52, been living in Springfield, Missouri all my life. I own a heating and air company, small, local, but solid. I worked like hell to build it. No loans, no handouts, no rich uncle. Just years of crawling under houses in August heat, fixing broken AC units and trying to keep customers happy. My brother Carl? He's 6 years younger. Carl's never stuck to anything in his life. Dropped out of community college. Bounced from job to job, construction, delivery, landscaping. Nothing ever lasted more than a year. I lost count of how many times I bailed him out of trouble, money for rent, repairs, groceries, you name it. I helped him because he was family, and I figured one day he'd get his act together. I was wrong. This all started last October. It was a Friday afternoon, and I was closing up the shop when Carl called me. I hadn't heard from him in a couple weeks, so I figured something was up. He didn't even waste time on small talk. "Hey, I need your help," he said. "My truck's shot. Blown transmission. I found a used Silverado, dealer wants 12 grand. I figured maybe you could spot me the cash." Just like that. I paused. I'd given him money plenty of times before. Never saw a dime back. I had a policy now, no more loans to family. Not even Carl. So I told him, "I can't do that, man. I've helped you a lot already. I'm not buying you a truck." He went quiet. For about 5 seconds. Then he said, real low, "You really gonna do me like that?" "I've already done more than enough for you," I told him. There was another pause. Then he said, "All right, you'll regret this." I hung up. Thought that was the end of it. 2 weeks later, there's a knock on my door. A sheriff's deputy hands me an envelope. Restraining order. Filed by Carl. Inside was a bunch of lies. He claimed I threatened him. Said I told him I'd ruin his life. Said I was dangerous and had harassed him for months. I stood there reading that crap, my hands shaking. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. The worst part? He filed it in court. This wasn't just some dumb personal feud. He was trying to get it on record, trying to get legal footing. And later I found out why. He was setting up for a civil lawsuit. He wanted to sue me for emotional distress. Carl was trying to scam me. He thought if he got a judge to believe I was threatening him, he could bleed me dry in court. It was about money. Always was. But what Carl didn't know was that I had something on him. A few months earlier, he'd come over to my house drunk. He'd rambled on in my garage about how easy it was to mess with people through the legal system. He bragged about how you could just say the right things and make someone's life hell. What he didn't know was I had cameras in my garage. Audio too. Not fancy, just a basic setup to keep my tools safe. That night, it recorded every word. "I could take you down if I wanted," he slurred. "Just push the right buttons. Courts eat that sh*t up. Say he threatened me. Act scared. Boom, cash." He said that, on tape. So I got myself a lawyer. We built our case quiet and steady. Didn't warn Carl. Didn't let on. Meanwhile, he kept running his mouth to people around town, telling them how he was gonna take Randy down and get what's mine. He didn't know half the people he talked to were friends of mine. When court day came, it was mid-December. Snow on the ground. Carl showed up looking smug, wearing a wrinkled suit and that damn fake limp he always pulled out when he wanted sympathy. He sat there acting scared. Said I threatened him. Said I stalked him. Even brought up old arguments we had years ago, twisting them into proof that I was unhinged. Then my lawyer stood up and said, "Your Honor, we have evidence that shows this entire case was manufactured with malicious intent." We played the tapes. Carl's voice filled the courtroom. Every sick little word. Bragging about faking threats. Bragging about lying to the court. He looked like a corpse. Pale, sweating, twitching. The judge looked at him and said, "Mr. Sorrell, this is a disgrace. You've wasted this court's time and tried to destroy your brother's reputation over money." He dismissed the case. With prejudice. That meant Carl couldn't try again. Couldn't refile. Couldn't twist it into something else. Then the judge said something I didn't expect. Mr. Sorrell, you will reimburse the defendant for all legal fees. Every penny. Carl didn't even argue. He just sat there stunned. As I left the courthouse, he was standing in the hallway staring at the floor. I walked past him slow. Didn't say a word. But inside, I was done playing nice. After court, things didn't go back to normal. Not even close. I thought Carl would crawl away embarrassed and stay out of my life. That's not what happened. A week after the court decision, I started getting weird calls at work. First, it was someone asking if we were hiring felons. Then someone else called asking if I was the guy who beats his brother. A third caller just breathed heavy and hung up. First, I brushed it off. Maybe prank calls. Then it got worse. One morning, I showed up at my shop and found the front window smashed in. Nothing stolen, just broken. Spray painted across the brick in red paint were the words, liar, abuser, thief. I had it cleaned up before customers saw it, but I knew who did it. No doubt in my mind. I didn't call the cops. Not yet. I wanted to give Carl the chance to stop, to just let this die. Instead, he doubled down. A week later, I got a visit from a local reporter. Some online news blog. She said she was following up on a tip about me. Asked if I wanted to comment on the abuse claims and allegations of financial control over a disabled family member. I nearly laughed. Carl had told the press I abused him, that I kept him under financial control like he was some damn hostage. The whole thing sounded like he watched a bad TV drama and copied the script. I showed the reporter the court judgment, the dismissal, the recordings. She walked away quiet, but the damage was already done. Rumors spread. A few longtime customers called and took a break from using my services. One even told me straight up, it's just not a good look, Randy. Bad press, you know? Carl was trying to destroy me one step at a time. Couldn't win in court, so he went dirty. What he didn't know was I had been recording everything since the trial. Every phone call, every voicemail, every call log. I set up more cameras at the shop and even around my house. And one night, I finally caught him. It was around 2 a.m. I woke up to a motion alert from my security camera. When I checked the footage, there he was. Carl, sneaking around the back of my HVAC shop with a can of paint thinner and a lighter. He was gonna burn the place down. I called the cops right then. They caught him before he could light it. Paint thinner was already spilled at the back door. Lighter in hand. Security footage captured everything. He was arrested on the spot. He tried to talk his way out of it, saying he was just trying to scare me, that he wasn't gonna light it. The cops didn't care. The DA didn't care either. They charged him with attempted arson, criminal mischief, and violating a protective order I had filed just days earlier. He was facing real time now. At the hearing, he sat in an orange jumpsuit, shackled. He didn't look smug anymore. He looked small. I stared at him while the charges were read. He couldn't meet my eyes. But I wasn't done. The day after Carl's arrest, I thought maybe it was finally over. But I should have known better. Carl didn't just dig his own grave. He tried to pull me in with him. 2 days after his arraignment, I got a call from a woman I hadn't heard from in years, his ex, Melanie. She and Carl had dated off and on for almost a decade, though dated is being generous. It was mostly Carl using her couch and living off her disability checks. She finally kicked him out 4 years ago. She sounded nervous. I heard what happened, she said. Carl called me from jail. I didn't say anything. I was already tired. He told me if anything happened to him, I should send you something. A flash drive. Now I was paying attention. Melanie said he'd given her a manila envelope months earlier, told her not to open it unless he ended up in serious trouble. She never looked at it, figured it was another one of his stupid games. But she didn't trust him anymore. Said she wanted to hand it to me directly. We met that night in the parking lot of an old diner just off Route 65. She handed it over like it was a drug deal. I don't want anything to do with this, she said. But you should see what he's been up to. When I got home, I plugged in the flash drive. Inside were files, videos, recordings, even PDFs. At first, it looked like garbage. Grainy recordings of people talking. Carl filming someone in a parking lot. Voice memos with dates and weird titles like Insurance Play and Fake Check 2. I didn't get it. Then I opened a folder labeled Plan B. That's when it hit me. Carl had been building schemes. Not just to ruin me, but others too. There were audio files of him coaching some guy on how to fake an injury in a parking lot to sue a grocery store. Another file was a doctored video looked like he'd taken footage of me yelling during a family cookout years ago and spliced it with audio to make it sound threatening. He'd been trying to build false evidence. Not just for court, for anyone who'd listen. The worst part? There were files on other people. Names I recognized. A cousin. A former landlord. A guy we both went to high school with. Carl had spent years trying to figure out how to sue people for quick money. He kept files. Scripts, fake letters, old copies of paperwork he'd used to scam a payday loan company in 2019. It was all there. I made copies. Multiple. One I gave to my lawyer. One to the DA. One I hid in a safety deposit box under my business name. I knew now Carl wasn't just a screw-up. He was dangerous. Calculated. He thought if he couldn't make something of himself, he'd just destroy other people for money. And as his court date for the arson charge came closer, something else happened. Someone slashed my tires. All four. Left a note under my windshield that said, "You should have helped family." It wasn't Carl. He was in jail. Someone else was doing this for him. That night I sat in my truck, in my driveway, looking at the note again. "You should have helped family." It wasn't Carl's handwriting. That meant someone else was working with him. Or doing his dirty work. Maybe someone who still believed his lies. I drove straight to the police station and filed another report. I handed over the flash drive copies and told them everything. About the slashed tires, the fake evidence, the schemes. I named names. Told them about the guy Carl coached to fake an injury in the Price Cutter parking lot. The loan fraud. The attempts to burn down my business. The detective, a guy named Stewart, looked at me and said, "You're going to want to be in court for his sentencing. This kind of thing doesn't go away easy." He was right. A week later, my lawyer called. She said Carl had filed a complaint from jail, claiming I was harassing him through third parties. He was trying to spin it again, but this time the court wasn't buying it. The DA added fraud and conspiracy charges based on what was in the flash drive. Melanie gave a statement too, told them everything. Even Carl's old friend, the one from the parking lot scam, came forward when he heard Carl might throw him under the bus next. It all unraveled fast. In court, Carl looked like a shell of himself. His hair was greasy, his eyes sunken. He wouldn't even look at me. He kept his head down while the DA laid out everything. His lies, his schemes, the arson attempt, the scams, the fake files. Then the judge said something I'll never forget. This wasn't desperation. This was premeditated cruelty. Mr. Sorrell didn't just want money. He wanted to ruin lives. Carl was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Not county. Not probation. Prison. When they let him out in cuffs, he turned back once, just for a second. Our eyes met. "You ruined me," he mouthed. I didn't say anything. But the truth? He didn't ruin himself alone. I helped. For years, I gave him money. Covered for him. Ignored the red flags. I kept hoping he'd change. I should have cut him off long before it got this bad. I should have reported him when I knew he faked that injury scam. But I stayed quiet, hoping he'd grow up. That was my mistake. It took Carl nearly burning my business down for me to finally see the truth. Some people don't want help. They want control. And if they can't control you, they'll try to destroy you. It's been 8 months now. Business is good again. My name's clean. I've rebuilt my customer base and added 2 new techs. But I don't answer calls from unknown numbers anymore. I check my cameras every night. And when I drive past the prison off Highway 44, I don't look. Some people deserve second chances. Others need to stay exactly where they are. And Carl? He can rot there,